We have an interesting word of the week this week. It is a hapax legomenon, meaning it only occurs in the New Testament once. And let us take a look. Our word of the week is pale, and it means a wrestling match. And it's a very, very old word. Pale goes all the way back to Homer, and Homer writes in the 8th century BC. So by the time we get to the one use in the New Testament in Ephesians, it's been almost 900 years that this word has been in common use. How is it used? The construction is pale in the nominative case, the wrestling match, with an opponent indicated by the preposition pros, to or toward, and then a noun or something substantive in the accusative case. So the subject, the wrestling match, with its object, the opponent. Wrestling, pros, so-and-so. The single use in the New Testament in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, is kind of strange and ironic. How so? Well, what do we know about Greek wrestling? Greek wrestling takes place in the nude. It's hand-to-hand, skill and strength-based combat that is refereed. So this is a contest with rules where it's man-to-man, hand-to-hand, strength and skills, stripped away of anything else that could give an offensive or defensive advantage. But when we see it in Ephesians 6:12, it's sandwiched between two verses that encourage us to put on the full armor of God. Well, you don't wrestle in armor in the sense of this word, pale. That's not what Greek wrestling is. But let's take a look at Ephesians 6, verses 11 through 13 in the ESV. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand firm. Let's unpack verse 12, at the first half, and take a look at how Paul is using our word of the week. Hoti uk estin hemin pale. Pale is the subject, the wrestling match. Hoti, because pale, the wrestling match, uk estin hemin, is not to or for us. And then we get the opponent, pros haima kai sarka, against blood and flesh. Normally we see flesh and blood because that's the English idiom. But here Paul says the opponent, pros haima kai sarka, against flesh, against blood and flesh. And then he gives us Allah, rather, and then he gives us the list of 4 opponents. So who's not the opponent? We're told that our wrestling match is not against blood and flesh. Rather, the wrestling match is against the 4 opponents, rulers, authorities, cosmic powers over this present darkness, spiritual forces of evil in heavenly places. So, in a blood and flesh wrestling match, you go in naked and fight with strength and skill. But Paul tells his readers in Ephesus by saying you're going to need to put on the full armor of God. Before and after he references this wrestling match, he's saying this is a different kind of wrestling match. First and foremost, it's a wrestling match that's going to require the full armor of God. And unlike all other wrestling matches, you're not going in against a single opponent, you're going against 4 opponents, and these opponents are not normal opponents. They're not like you, blood and flesh. And therefore, because of the supernatural nature of the opponents with whom you will wrestle, you're going to have to take a different approach than you would in wrestling. Now, some out there are saying right now, well, clearly he's using hepale figuratively as a struggle or a battle. Of course he is. But he had other words he could have chosen. He could have chosen struggle, battle, conflict, war. He chose to use the term wrestling so that we would see how wildly different this struggle is. And the only way for you to prevail in this wrestling match, which is not against blood and flesh, rather is against authorities and powers and the dominion of evil, in this spiritual wrestling match, you can't go in naked, you can't go in unarmed, you're going to need the full armor of God to prevail. And he tells us by sandwiching this in this magnificent sort of chiasm, you need the full armor of God because of the nature of the enemy. You're going to be wrestling, not blood and flesh, not naked with strength and skill. You're going to have to put on that full armor if you have any hope of prevailing and standing against these four enemies. Pale, our word of the week, the wrestling match. The opponent is always pros with a noun in the accusative so that we know who we are up against. Hope that was good for you. If it was, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, hit the notification dinger, and until next time, Charis Kai Irene Humin, grace and peace to you.